All right. Welcome, Samara. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing well. How are you?
Wonderful. Just so you know, we are recording, and I started the recording now. So we'll wait for the rest of our guests to come in, but just wanted to let you know.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And then Samara, we changed the order.
Okay.
Lois pointed out that hers kind of leads into mine, and the two are connected, and then yours is a good like wrap up.
Perfect.
Hello, everyone. My name is Elisa Hilliard, and I'm the onboarding manager for Dimensions. And we've got just about one more minute here before we get started, but I just wanted to let everybody know we are recording this meeting so that others may benefit from the conversation we have today. So just kind of want to let you guys know that. And we'll probably start in about a minute or so. We're waiting for some more people to join us, but thank you so much for being here today. We're excited to have you. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our wonderful Lunch and Learn series. Today, we are going to be talking about creating a healthy and happy you. How do we find balance in all that we are doing with our families, with our students, work? How do we find all of that balance? And some of the work that we've been looking at is the Dr. Siegel, and Lois kindly share some information with us about him. And a healthy mind platter, this idea of a balanced platter or meal that includes some physical time where we're moving our body and getting active, some focus time where we're focusing on tasks and working on things that are goal oriented, connecting time where we're spending some time with people and really connecting with them, hopefully in person if that's possible and safe during this time, playtime, time that we are finding to be creative and to focus on things that makes us happy and feel playful, downtime, time where we are finding time to rest our mind and kind of reflect and think about things like that. Time in, which is more reflective time where we're thinking about things that are beneficial to us, and then sleep and rest time, which sometimes is hard for some of us. I'll put myself in that category to find my mind seems to always be going, and so that rest and sleep time and even that time in can be difficult. But today, hopefully, we're going to be giving you guys some tips and some ideas on how to access some of this and how to incorporate it into your life to make this healthy mind platter for yourself. We have three wonderful guests with us today. We have Lois Ingberg, and she is an Element Education employee, a behavioral counselor at Element Education, and she's going to be talking to us about changing our thoughts and changing our reality. And then we have Terry Novacek, who is our Element Education Executive Director, and she's going to be talking about personal accountability. And we have a wonderful parent from Community Montessori, Samara Tricarico. Did I say that right? I was practicing. And she's she's an integrative nutrition health coach, and she's going to be talking to us about nutrition and exercise and that moving part, physical time part of this wonderful healthy month plate. And so we're going to go ahead and start with Lois, and she's going to share with us first.
Thank you, Elisa. Welcome, everybody. So one of the things that we talk about in our school, and it's well known in our culture and society, is about mindset. And so we're going to focus on that initially. And if you know, when you get into a plane, the first advice that you're given or instructions is to put on your oxygen mask first in order to be helpful to those around you. And so we want to offer today some ideas about putting your oxygen mask on first, and puts you in the most optimum position to be available for yourself and your family, your work, etc. So let's see if we can go ahead and share screen, Elisa, for our first slide. If we can.
Okay,
scroll.
hold on 1 second. Give me
Sure.
2 seconds. Yeah,
okay.
No, that's okay. I have it up. I couldn't.
No
once
worries.
I put it up, you couldn't hear me. So.
Okay.
Here we go. Let me get that larger for you and in presentation mode. There you are.
Wonderful. So let's, that's our introductory slide. And now we'll go to our next one. There we go. So we're back to the first one, but the one before. Yeah, so changing our thoughts can change our reality. And this speaks to the idea of mindset. So how do we bring more hope and joy into our lives? That's our topic for today. And what we do and practice on a regular basis kind of makes a groove. So what about the things we're not happy with? How do we get out of a groove? What gets in the way? And so we're going to be talking about beliefs. And so I'm going to ask for you to reach and find a piece of paper, letter size paper if you can, because we're going to use 4 quadrants on the page. And I'll give you a moment to do that. So, Elisa, if you wouldn't mind, go to our next slide. And I'm going to ask if you can see the chat, to also just monitor the chat while I'm speaking. So on the upper left quadrant, I'm going to ask you to make a list. And the list is 4 things that I have to do. So the first numbers 1 through 4 that are highlighted on the left, that's what's going to go on the upper left quadrant. Leave space on the upper right quadrant for the next writing. So think about things you have to do. I have to pay the bills. I have to go to work. I have to feed the kids. So let me just stop and make sure to check in that people have found a piece of paper. And it doesn't have to take a long time. Just make a list of things you have to do. So I'm wondering how we can know when people have made their list. Doesn't have to be 4, but just a few things that you can think of you do in your daily life. So we'll give a moment for you to do that. And so once you've made your list, we'll go to the next slide, Elisa. And on the right side, change these first sentences that you wrote with with alternative language. So the same things that you wrote on the left side, if you said, I have to feed the kids, choose one of these to rewrite that sentence, I will feed the kids. It is important to me that I feed the kids, or whatever things you put in that first quadrant on the left, upper left. Just take a moment to do that. Oh, thanks, Jennifer, for saying you're done. And I see Ariana, but I think that might be a student name. And for those of you just joining us, if you can find a piece of paper, letter size would be great. We're doing a little bit of writing and making a list in the upper left quadrant, things you have to do. Oh, Ivy, thank you, Ivy. And then in the upper right, changing your sentence using alternative language. So I have to go to work. I choose to go to work, or it's important to me that I go to work, or that I will. And if you'll just put in the chat again when you're done rewriting your sentences, and then we'll share out a little bit. So give yourself a moment. So if you want to put in the chat when you're done, we'll know. Great. Starting to come in. So Elisa, if you wouldn't mind, stop share for just a moment. And let's invite anyone who would like. If you'd like to put your camera on, you can. If not, it's okay. Let's get a sense of the before and the after statements, and maybe speak to what you're thinking and feeling about writing the first sentences and then the next ones. Anyone care to share? Jennifer? And then Ivy?
Unmute. Okay. So my first one was your suggestion. I have to pay my bills. And then when I rewrote it, I wrote, I choose to pay my bills on time. And when I was writing the first one, I felt my stress level rise. I felt pressure to get it done. And the second one, I felt like I was more in control because it was something that I was choosing to do. It was an action I was initiating rather than being thrust on me.
Thanks, Jennifer.
You're welcome.
Ivy, did you want to share?
Hi, my name is Ivy.
Hi.
The first column, things I have to do. One's work, two, childcare, three, household, for physical and mental health. So the changing into positive, and I perceive that what would be. The first one, I love going to work. The second one, I enjoy caring for my child. The third one, I like keeping my house clean. And the fourth one, I value my physical and mental health.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else care to share the before and after? All right. So we're going to do one more exercise. So on the bottom left of your paper, and now if you'll share screen again, please, Elisa, and go to that next slide. So, whoops, that one, right. So now make a list of 1 to 4 things I can't do, like I can't lose weight. I can't get my kids to listen. I can't get them to do their schoolwork. I can't get to cleaning the yard, whatever it is. And just take a moment to fill that in on the lower left quadrant. And let us know in the chat when you have made your lists. All right, and if you have finished that, and then you can be finishing up while we go to the next slide, Elisa, which is, again, changing the way we wrote the sentences. Again, now bottom right quadrant, to start whatever you put with I won't, or I haven't yet tried hard enough to. So I see there's a typo there. Or it just isn't that important to me that I fill in the blank, or I have chosen not to. And go ahead and rewrite your sentences with the alternative language. And then let us know in the chat when you've completed that. Okay, so Elisa, if you don't mind to stop share again, and let's allow whoever would like to share out your before and after statements this time. Ivy?
Hi. I can only come up with 3. The things that I can't do: go to yoga, go to movie theater or entertainment with family. 3, I cannot visit my family in Thailand. And the other side would be I chose not to attend yoga or movie theater, and I chose not to visit Thailand at the moment.
Okay. And so was there a shift for you as you thought about how to reframe it?
Yes.
Yeah? Can you
Yes.
share a little about that?
So it was very frustrating that, whole pandemic, that we unable to do activity that I find it's bring joy to me, like visit family or taking family a little break, mental break, to go out enjoying restaurant. Or now when I chose the word that I chose not to, it's a little more of less in burden and frustration that I make choices rather than forced to. It's different feeling.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. Anyone else care to share your before and after? Let's see. Novali is the name that came up.
I'm Serena. My daughter's.
Serena.
My
Thank
daughter.
you, Serena.
Okay, let's see. I said things I can't do. I can't change my health problems, diseases. I can't stop being a caregiver in that role, like stop being caregiving for everybody. And then I can't get my daughter to do homework willingly. And then I can't de-stress easily with all three kids at home. And then I said that let's see, I haven't yet tried hard enough to get my daughter to do homework willingly, like try and make it more fun. It's just not, it just isn't that important to stop being a caregiver. I feel like I continue to do that role, but it takes my mind off of me and my health issues. And then I have chosen not to, let's see, I have chosen not to stop being a caregiver. It just isn't that important to me to, I forgot, I might have done twice. Let's see. I said, what did I say? I won't de-stress easily with the kids at home. I hear them coming up right now. I have three.
No worries.
And which one did I skip? Get them to do homework willingly. I don't know what on that one. Maybe I haven't tried hard enough for that one. So I think
Okay. Thanks, Serena. So was there a shift for you in rewriting them?
yeah, to try and figure out the health issues one, like whether. Come here. Oh my goodness.
It's totally fine.
At a
We
cupcake.
we welcome families. So
okay.
hi.
Take her down. I think to choose to just say that I can't stop being a caregiver, it de-stresses because it's not important to me to kind of change that because it helps me take my mind off of my health problems. And then I've chosen not to, which one did I? Oh, okay. So for stop being a caregiver, it's just not important to me. I haven't figured that one out. Which one's not important to me?
So the ones that were a shift for you, what was the shift?
Of whether the fact of I haven't tried hard enough. So to just say that I can't, like for instance, the homework with my daughter, just waiting for my husband to come home to fight her on the homework. Like I haven't tried hard enough for me to try and do it before he comes home instead of just putting it on him. So it's realizing, it's like self-reflecting on yourself of what you can do and what you can actually do instead of just saying that I can't do it.
All right. Thank you. Okay. So Elisa, if you'll go to our next slide to share. So this is a quote: thoughts have no meaning except the meaning we give them. And now to the next slide, please. So what thoughts are you willing to give up your happiness for, or what thoughts might you shift to help move you in the direction of greater joy and happiness and possibility. And so I invite you to reflect. You can do this in the moment right now or later, and to think about what you wrote. And our next presentation will help facilitate how you might set a goal that by changing your thinking and the way you view something will create that mindset for change. So let's just pause now, and I know we'll stop share once again to ask for any takeaways briefly from doing this activity.
Lois, I think one of the big takeaways, at least for myself, was, that we have choice, and that even if it's something we may not want to do, just looking at the choices we're making and, oh, this is why it's not happening. If I wrote no time, no exercise, well, am I carving time out? Am I waking up a little bit early to make sure I get that workout before the kids wake up? So just kind of shifting that responsibility back and looking at myself and what I can do to make the changes that I want to see was really, really nice to feel that, okay, it can change and it's on me to do so.
Thank you, Elisa. All right. If anyone has one last comment before we go to Terry. All right, thank you. So we'll now shift to another way that will help us change our thinking and our actions.
Alrighty. Hello, everybody. My name is Terry Novacek, and Lisa, we can just start with the slides, and you won't have to share and stop sharing.
Okay, no worries. All
So
right, perfect.
I'm going to try to do about 10 hours of information in 10 minutes. So let's see how this goes. What we'll be talking about in these next few minutes is around personal responsibility and the science behind having 3 brains. If you think of what constitutes a brain, they have found that, we all know about the one in our head, but also your heart, as well as your gut, for lack of a better word, but all your intestinal area have just as many neurons and activity that go on there that actually constitute them as brains as well. And so when we think back to our classic movie and book, The Wizard of Oz, we remember the scarecrow who's looking for a brain. We remember the Tin Man looking for a heart. We remember the lion looking for courage. And what did they find after that long journey? At the end of the road, they got to the Emerald City. And what they found out was they had the power within them the whole time. And that's real life. And it's, still the case today. Nobody's going to wave a magic wand for us. The power is within us. So it's up to us. Do we have the heart to own the situation? Do we have the wisdom to solve it? And the courage to actually carry it out? And so to follow up on what Lois introduced, what are you feeling, thinking, and doing? And as we learned, the language that we choose really has a very strong impact on how we're feeling and what we're thinking and what we're doing. And so when you start talking about the 3 brains or the head, heart, gut alignment, do those feelings, thoughts, and actions all line up when you're thinking about your health, relationships, performance, wealth? And when I say wealth, I'm not just talking about money and possessions, but experience and knowledge and love. So when you're thinking about your health, does that line up with how you're feeling about it and what you're doing about it. Next slide, please. And so the freeway system is what is referred to as the autonomic nervous system. And that is how those three neural networks operate. And so like the optimal operation, like joy and peace, really good decision making, is when there's coherence among them. You've got a sympathetic system, which is your fight or flight, and that's what gets you moving and able to resolve a situation. And then your parasympathetic is what follows that. And that's, you know, the part about the feeding and the breathing, the resting, you know, coming back to normalcy. So within each of those neural networks, they could have a different response to different things. So your, let's say you're thinking about friendship, what you might be feeling, you have a personal friend and you're feeling a sense of distrust. That would be on the sympathetic scale. Then you might be thinking multiple realities. And, you know, sometimes we find ourselves, you know, using the term like bipolar. Oh my gosh, one minute I'm thinking this and the next minute I'm thinking that. And, you know, and you just have these different realities that you're putting on in your own head. And then your action, so that would also be a sympathetic. The action might be gossip. Maybe you're doing that out of fear. And all of those are sympathetic reactions. Let's say that you're thinking about weight. You're hung up on your weight. And so what you're maybe feeling is a sense of envy. You feel you're too thin and you're seeing somebody that you feel has a healthier looking body, or you're feeling you're too heavy and you see somebody with, you know, the body that you wish that you had. You can get caught up in some mental looping, which is kind of your brain being in a trap where you can't get out of that loop and get to a place where you're actually moving forward, and all those little thoughts that you tell yourself. And so then you react with impulsiveness and you go grab the hoagie and the chips and the beer instead of maybe a healthier, more balanced meal. You know, and having the courage to see things. So that's an example of how your sympathetic and your parasympathetic is out of whack. But really in both instances, you want balance. And so in that situation with the friend, you don't want blind trust and you don't want distrust. You want trust. You want a balanced perspective in your head. And you want the courage to maybe ask questions when you're feeling like your friend is doing something that might challenge your trust. But just the courage to talk through things with your friend. Same thing with the weight. You want to feel secure. You want to think with a sense of flow. And then that also will bring that motivation or that drive to do the thing that gives you the reaction, the response, the feeling that you want. All right, next slide. So it all starts with the heart. And a lot of times, I don't know if it's just because we think of our brain, our head as our dominant brain, or because it's at the top and we think top to bottom. But really the place to start is with your heart and thinking about, how am I contributing to the situation? And if you're not able to identify that, you will not be able to come up with a solution. If you aren't part of the problem, you can't be part of the solution. So link where you are with what you've done in the past and figure out how, you know, what's worked, what hasn't worked. And then where do you want to be? And make sure that you look at it from all sides, not just your own perspective, but if you were somebody outside of you, How would that person be thinking? And something to keep in mind is that negative emotions like distrust, vengeance, a guarded heart, jealousy, all of those have been found to actually be damaging to the heart. And so likewise, positive emotions actually build our heart. And the greater your awareness of the signals from your heart, the better your intuition, intelligence, and wisdom. And when I talk about awareness of the signals, what are some signals? What are ways, think of things that we say and make when we make reference to our heart, or signals that our heart gives us. Your heart skips a beat, being heartbroken, your heart flutters, heartache, just the fast beating, your heart is racing, something's that it's heartwarming. So that's what I mean by really feeling, trying to understand what is going on with your heart, from the bottom of my heart. Very good. All right, the next slide. So you start with your heart and then you wrap your head around the wisdom, okay? I mentioned earlier flow. Creativity and flow occur when both the hemispheres work together. And we know we have a left hemisphere that's really focused on, the black and white and the logic of life, and our right hemisphere, which is the more creative side. It's when those two things, both sides are working together, that we find that sense of flow. We're feeling at our best. We need to continuously ask ourselves, what can I do to get the result I want? And be willing to think differently about how to solve the problem. You'll see there's a puzzle in the middle here, the 9 red dots. You may or may not have seen that before, and actually even people that have seen it before, only 1 out of 4 can remember how to connect all those dots without crossing over a line and making sure that you touch all the lines. And then tap into positive deviance. That's a concept. A positive deviant is somebody who is succeeding in spite of the fact of having the same situation. So, if Elisa and I have the same thing going on in our work life or our parenting life or whatever, how is it she's able to get her kids to eat the peas and I can't? And so I would tap into her and find out what she's doing to be successful. And then make sure that you pave a clear path, that you're accountable. You figure out who you're accountable to, what you're accountable to do, and by when. And most important, be persistent. Successful people don't always win, but they do spring back up when they fall. So I don't want to spend time on the puzzle now because I want to make sure we have time to get through the whole presentation. But if you go to the next slide, Elisa, you can see that what you need to do to connect all those dots is think outside the box. Next slide. So now we need to have the guts or the courage to take action. That's our external behavior. And the reason I have these monkeys here is there was this famous experiment done years ago with behavior scientists with monkeys. They put them all in a cage. There were stairs that led up to some bananas. So they put monkey number 1 in there, and monkey number 1 gets to go up and get the bananas. Well, when they put 5 monkeys in there and they hosed down with water the 4 monkeys that were not on the ladder. And those monkeys started figuring out, hey, every time that guy goes up the ladder to the bananas, we all get sprayed. So what do? Next time the guy goes up the ladder, they're just like, heck no, and they're pulling him back down. Well, then they also found that as they would take a monkey out and replace it with another monkey who had never experienced the whole spraying, the new monkey would learn what's going on here. You know, the other monkeys would say, no, 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 nobody goes up the ladder for the bananas. As they continued replacing the monkeys and they got to that place where all 5 monkeys that were in there, none of them had ever experienced being hosed down. Nobody went up to get the bananas. And I mean, think of how many times we do that in our own lives, small things as well as big things. I mean, how many times we say, I don't know why we do it, that's just the way we've always done it. Or we do it because so-and-so tells us, but we're not quite sure why so-and-so tells us. And so we need to make sure that we're understanding, you know, if we're listening to somebody else's view or on something, where did that point of view come from? And then another force that gets in the way, and it was mentioned here, is health. And one thing that it took me a while to accept, but I get it now, is you have to decide if you are sick or healthy. You can't be both. Now, you know, we know that there are things that go on in our body, and we can't control everything that happens as far as our health, but we can control how we look at it. And we've, you know, there's been a lot of very inspirational people that have been very sick and in spite of that done some incredible things. And, you know, really bottom line is you have to want it more than you don't want it. And that makes me think of something that we hear in Ken Robinson's book, The Element, where he is in a conversation with somebody that was a very renowned pianist. And he said, oh my gosh, I've always wanted to be a great pianist. And the guy said, well, no, you didn't, because if you did, then you would. But you didn't want it enough to have to practice as much as it took to really be a great pianist. And so, like I said, you have to want it more than you don't want it. So there's a question, is that sick mentally, physically, or emotionally? And the answer would be yes. You know, again, I'm going to say, we understand that there are things that we have control over and things that we don't. There has been, and again, I mean, I'm talking about 10 hours that I'm trying to do in 10 minutes. And, but there has been science, you know, around some activities that, for example, bipolar people can do, and it is related to this as far as aligning the head, heart, and the gut, that has brought people more success than medication. So I'm not saying that that's the only way to go by any means. But I know that there has been a lot of science behind this helping people with their decision making as well as their physical, mental, and emotional health. And I think that was most of what I thought I could get in here. And we will be doing a session at our wellness fair on the MBIT, and I'll be able to get a little bit more into it, as well as the balanced breathing, which is a very big part of it. And we'll actually do an activity where we practice aligning all 3 of the brains. So, thanks.
Thank you, Terry. That was awesome. I think any time that we can look at decision making and how those decisions can help us make better choices for ourselves and guide us in the right direction, it's always a great thing. So we're happy that you share that with us and excited for learning more at the wellness fair that we have coming up at the end of the month. And now we have Samara, who's going to be sharing some information about nutrition with us.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Lois and Terry. This has been great. I'm learning a lot today, too, so thank you. So we're going to shift from a lot of the mental health focus more to physical health, which I'm a holistic health coach, so I kind of look at all of it. But today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about nutrition and exercise. Do you have the slides, Elisa? We can just go right into those. So we have some working
Is it up for you now?
Yeah, that's my kids and me on the right on a hike at Torrey Pines, and then that's a pitaya bowl in the middle with fresh fruit. So we can go to the next one. So we'll start with nutrition. Nutrition is really just the study of food, and food is really any substance containing nutrients, and nutrients are any digestible substance that can be used by the body. So we have 6 main nutrients when we think of nutrition. The first one is protein. Protein are essential for bones and muscles, and they're made up of amino acids. They provide energy and strength and repair the body. Fats are responsible for transporting vitamins. They help with brain function and transport oxygen to our cells. Carbohydrates give us energy. There's simple and complex carbohydrates. And minerals are critical for nerve function, cellular processing, and water balance. Vitamins enable chemical reactions needed by the body and give energy. And then water, so important. Water is responsible for transportation of nutrients and waste and helps to regulate our body temperature. So those are the 6 main nutrients. We can go to the next slide. And I want to share with you some tips for optimum nutrition. So in making choices around these nutrients, proteins, fats, carbohydrates, etc., we want to choose high quality nutrients. So the foods that we eat, we want to be high quality. So for example, eating organic produce or drinking alkaline water. So not all water is the same. Our tap water often contains chemicals, but if we're drinking fresh spring water, alkaline water, those are going to serve the body better because they're higher quality. We also want to cut down on sugar. The American Heart Association suggests an added sugar limit of no more than 100 calories per day, which equates to about 6 teaspoons or 24 grams of sugar for most women, and no more than 150 calories or about 9 teaspoons or 36 grams for men. I think that's even a little bit high. So just cutting down on our sugar intake is really important. And then examining your plate, and you'll see there's the diagram in the middle that looks at our plate, divides it into quadrants. So making sure that we have fruits and vegetables, whole grains and protein. On the side is water, and then we have a smaller amount of fats and oils. There's some words there, I'll come back to those. But in examining your plate, there's a couple things also. Is it made in a plant? Or is it a plant? So we can think of an apple is a plant, it grows on a tree, or a box of macaroni and cheese is made in a plant. And which do you think is going to be more healthy, right? It's the apple. So we can question and use that as kind of a litmus test when we're looking at what are the foods that we're eating. Is it a plant or is it made in a plant? And then portion size, you can think of the size of your palm. Like if you're having a piece of meat, it doesn't need to be a huge, big steak. A size of your palm is a sufficient portion size. And then also the size of your fist. If you're thinking about like a serving of rice or grains or something, the size of your fist. And again, a larger person is going to have a larger fist size. So that is going to be a more appropriate portion size for them. And then I like to suggest looking at the size of the plate that we're using. The American diet, it tends to oversize everything. So we have these large dinner plates and we think we have to fill it all the way up. But say if you were to go down to just a salad plate size and you have your food on a salad plate, it's going to be a more appropriate portion size. And it's going to look like it's it's more food because it takes up more space on the plate. So examine your plate. And then practicing mindfulness. So just slowing down, taking time to experience your food and the different sensations, smelling your food before you eat it, looking at your food before you eat it, slowing down and tasting the morsels in your mouth. That can really help as well. And then farm fresh ingredients. So the fresher something is, the more high or the more dense the nutrients are going to be, the higher intensity, the more nutritious the foods are going to be. I also recommend, if you can, grow your own food. And we actually have a session coming up at the Wellness Fair at Spring Into Wellness about growing your own food and growing a garden, which is awesome. And I also, if you're interested, I have some certificates for a free box of farm fresh produce. This is a program, it's called Farm Fresh to You, that I get produce from them delivered on a weekly basis. If you want to just put your name in the chat, or you can email me, I'll put my email at the end. I have a certificate for a free box if you're interested. Next slide, please. So actually, can we go back really quick? Sorry, I forgot to mention the things outside of the plate. So relationships, career, spirituality, and physical activity. I'll mention those briefly now. Those are what we call secondary foods. So we want to make sure that we're having healthy relationships, we're fostering our career, we're having an active physical activity, and a very active spiritual life. So we'll come back to those. And thinking about feeding the family, we can go to the next one. There's really no one perfect diet, so it's important to choose what works best for you and your family. So I know there's a lot of diets out there, and that's something that I talk with my clients about a lot. For some people, you know, they want to be completely vegetarian or vegan, and for others, they like a paleo or a keto diet, and other people are like, I don't even know what that means. I'm just so overwhelmed. I just want to feed my kids and feed myself and feel healthy. So really, it's about choosing what works for you and your family. And, you know, with working parents, you know, it's not necessarily reasonable to think that every meal is going to be, you know, totally organic and prepared from scratch every time. So sometimes, you know, we do need to eat out, and, you know, it's about making healthy choices when you do. There is one diet, however, I have done research, and, you know, consistently the Mediterranean diet is effective in reducing the risk for cardiovascular disease and overall mortality. And really its foundation is just vegetables, fruits, herbs, nuts, beans, and whole grains. It has moderate amounts of dairy, poultry, eggs, and seafood, and very minimal red meat. So consistently this diet shows up, and I encourage you to look into it, see if it might work for you and your family. Are there any questions so far? I know I'm kind of throwing a lot at you with food and nutrition. I'm going to keep going, but if you have questions, please put them in the chat. So some tips that my family use, I'm sorry, we're still there. Yep. Some tips are to cook once and eat twice or thrice. So for example, in my family, we follow the Mediterranean diet more or less. Those tend to be a lot of the choices that we make. So one example with the cook once, eat twice or thrice is to make roasted chicken. Like on a Sunday, I'll do two roasted chickens, and we'll use one for dinner that night, and then the other one, I'll pull the meat off and keep it in the refrigerator and use it for protein for salads throughout the week, and maybe make a batch of enchiladas, things like that. And then I'm spending less time in the kitchen because and spending less energy, you know, with my oven. So I've, you know, optimized that time. I've spent time in the kitchen one time, but I'm making multiple meals out of that. Setting aside meal prep time, planning can make all the difference. So it's really important to plan ahead. So for example, I like to on Sunday sit down and look at the week, and, you know, what, you know, sporting events are going on with the kids, or what events do they have with my husband and me, what are our schedules like? Do we have, all nights at home? Do we need to eat out one night? So if we do, on this day, I might have more time to prepare. So I'm going to shop accordingly and plan the meal accordingly. And then invite your children to shop with you and into the kitchen. I know with my kids, when I started to involve them a little bit more, they started making choices about what they were eating. So when we go to the store, it's not me just getting broccoli and cauliflower. They can come and say, no, actually, I really like green beans. I'd like to have green beans this week. Great. We'll have green beans, one night for our vegetable. And then also involving them in the cooking. They get so much more invested in the cooking, they're going to want to eat it. So that's one way to help to get more vegetables in them. We do have a couple sessions also at the Wellness Fair, Healthy Recipe for Kids and Youth Nutrition, that will be touching on those topics. And then next slide. So as I promised, coming back to the primary foods, primary foods is what we take in that's beyond the actual food, the apples, the rice, what have you. And these are nurturing us on a deeper level. The four main ones are career, relationships, physical activity, and spirituality. So you can eat as much kale as you want and have salads and tons of fresh organic veggies and, be super healthy in your diet. But if you're in a toxic relationship or you're not happy in your job, you don't get any exercise and you don't have a spiritual life, you're not going to feel that overall sense of health in your life. We need both to feel completely healthy. And that's what I call holistic health. So what I recommend is balancing the equation. We want to make sure that we're healthy on both sides of the equation, what our primary foods are, and as well as the foods that we eat. So that kind of leads us right into exercise, which is the physical activity. And how do I get more exercise? So exercise, I really want to stress the importance of it. I call it the E in stress. Stress is a killer and it causes a lot of problems for all of us. We all have it in our life, but how do we take care of it and manage stress? E, exercise. That's it. So find ways to incorporate movement every day. It doesn't have to be a structured, I'm going to the gym or I have a personal trainer, I'm, doing this rigorous workout. It can be movement and activity. Our bodies are designed to move. So do it, get up and move. The American Heart Association recommends 30 minutes, 5 days a week. That can be broken up. You can take 3 10-minute walks in a day, and there you go. So get outside where possible. Include your family. Walk, hike, dance, yoga. We're doing a session at the Wellness Fair on yoga with your child. And then there's workout apps. We're also going to do a session on apps, as well as exercising body and the brain. So there's lots of ways to involve your family. Schedule it, make it a priority, and do it. There's always a way. Exercise is super important, and you can make it happen. So it looks like a question about interested in Farm Fresh to you. Absolutely, we can get that to you. And here's my email, samara@tastytransformations.com. If you have any questions for me, anything I can help you with regarding overall health and wellness. And that's all I have.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We're going to now take any additional questions or comments that you may have. We'd be happy to answer those for you. I know Lois posted a link in the chat to that first conversation we were having about that healthy mind platter and all the different components that go into it. I went ahead and added information and registration link for our Spring into Wellness Fair that we're having, where you'll be able to learn some more of these different topics and dive in a little deeper. We have some great guests coming to join us, so we hope you will be there as well so that you can learn and participate. Any questions, any last thoughts about some of the stuff you heard today? like Samara said, I learned a ton. I always do whenever we have this great group of people here to share. It makes me reflect. I'm a working homeschool mom of 3, and I'm trying to balance it all just like everybody else is. So, I know one thing I was talking to Samara about before was, when I know I'm going to have a busy day like today, I've gone through lunch now. So my 3 kids are working on schoolwork. I have a 13-year-old, an 11-year-old, and a 7-year-old. So they've been working on stuff. Lunchtime is kind of like a break time. We prepped our lunches the night before and stuck them in the refrigerator, just like if we were going to school or if I was going to work, even though we didn't leave the house, and the lunches were there. So I know that the kids could go in and grab their lunchbox and open it up and have their lunch. They could take it outside. We kind of set up a plan based on our family meeting we had, at the beginning of the week. Hey, Wednesday, mom has this meeting. How are we going to make this happen? And we make better choices than if I just say, go grab whatever, because I'm going into my meeting now. And we planned it out. It was set. The kids had a balanced lunch. I'm not worried about it. I don't have to think about it too much. My lunch is waiting for me when I'm done with this. And I know I don't have to worry, and I can carry on with the rest of the day. So just planning ahead and making those choices to keep it balanced. We do have a couple of questions. Can I get some more information about the grocery box? So I think that's the coupons for the fresh and health, the fresh farm fresh to you. That's what it is. I was trying to think of the name. If you're in the South Bay, I know Olivewood Gardens is one of our guests who is coming to Spring Into Wellness, and they have a farm stand where they sell by donation. So they have a box or a bag that they create every week, and you bring a donation and you get to take these farm fresh grown organic veggies home, which is really, really great. So definitely consider that if you're in the area, and I can give you guys more information about that. They're coming to do our gardening and children in the kitchen workshop at Spring Into Wellness. So definitely have that. All right. Any other?
There was one question about healthy recipes you can recommend for kids. So I would say come to the wellness fair. We're going to go more into that. I mean, I think the most important thing right now, really honestly, is to get vegetables to kids. And I think it's offering them a variety and making and setting an example for them, being a role model, eating vegetables yourself, letting them see you eat the vegetables, and then also letting them have a choice to say, I really don't like broccoli. It's an intense flavor, but I like green beans. I know that was the example I used. My kids, they each kind of have their own, they love vegetables, but it takes some time to model that for them and then let them kind of be involved in it.
Yeah, I think the involvement part is like really, really big. So I brought my kids in the kitchen as soon as they could stand and do, and sometimes it was sitting at the table. Younger kids can rip lettuce apart really easily. They don't need to use knives or anything, and participate in making a quick salad that way. They're using tools that are accessible to them, those crinkle cutters, little handles they can cut. They're not going to cut themselves. Cucumbers, carrots, they can chop them up, make them look like little French fries. I know my 7-year-old loves to make carrots look like French fries, and she thinks that's super cool. So getting them involved in planning and participating in creating their own meals. I know we bought those little segmented plates, and even my older girls still like to see all the different, what can we put in here? Oh, yeah. Mom says one treat and, veggies and fruits, and then our protein goes here. So that just kind of makes it fun, and they can create little adventures. We talk a lot about eating the rainbow, like, ooh, how many colors did you get on your plate today? And just kind of making it a fun adventure for them. And one daughter who's an artist, so she tries to get as many colors in there as possible. We had pasta last night, and I made sure I put a ton of green beans and peas and stuff in there. Did they eat them all? Maybe not, but I know some of them got in there. So we try to make a balance, like Samara was saying.
And I would just add to make it fun is as a family, decide on a new fruit or vegetable or spice that no one's ever had before. And if you've never had dragon fruit, get a dragon fruit. and try it and see how everybody responds to it, because that's a great way to put everybody in the same boat, have fun, and be exposed to new eating experiences that are healthy.
Yeah, and as we get back to going into the grocery store, let your kids pick something. I always say, go grab one thing that you want to try. And, sometimes they come back and I'm going, I have no idea what that is either. And I have to figure that out. And that's okay. Thank goodness for Google and the internet. I can go look up a recipe. But that's been kind of a fun adventure. Like, okay, girls, go find something in the store that you guys want to try today in the vegetable or fruit section. And that's been a fun way to do that as well. But thank you so much, everyone, for joining us and for being here. We hope that you can join us at the Wellness Fair. Like I said, the information's in the comments. And when we leave the meeting, just so you know, the chat does stay available for you, and you can still come and find those links. I'm going to put one more link in the chat, and that is for a survey for our wonderful presentation today, so that you can give us some feedback and we can continue to improve our workshops for you, and our Lunch and Learn series can continue to grow and meet your needs. But thank you so much, everyone, for coming. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, Samara, Lois, and Terry, for being here today and taking the time to share with our learning community all this wonderful information. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.